The resume sat on my desk like a grenade with the pin already pulled. Fallon Mercier, Senior AI Development Manager. Seeking director-level position. I read it 3 times before my brain processed what I was seeing. Fallon, my former coworker. The woman who'd stolen 2 years of my work, presented it as her own, got promoted on my research, and smiled while I got fired for creating a hostile work environment when I tried to fight back. That Fallon. Applying to my company. The one I'd built from nothing after she destroyed my career. The one that had just been valued at $47 million. My head of HR, Idris, stood in my doorway with an expression I couldn't quite read. Oh, that's interesting. That's one word for it. Want me to reject it immediately? 'Cause I will. With pleasure. I looked at the resume again. At her list of accomplishments. Accomplishments that included the project she'd stolen from me. Described in her words like she'd actually built it. No, I said slowly. Schedule an interview. I want to hear this. What Fallon didn't know, what she couldn't possibly know, was that the work she'd stolen 3 years ago was just the foundation. What I'd built since then was so far beyond that initial project that she wouldn't even recognize her own theft. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to the beginning. To the day I realized that the person you trust most can be the one who destroys you. If you've ever had your work stolen, your ideas claimed by someone else, or your career sabotaged by someone you thought was your friend, hit that subscribe button. Because this is about what happens when you stop fighting for credit and start building something they can never touch. My name is Seren Zhao. I'm 31 years old. And 3 years ago I was a senior AI researcher at Nexus Technologies, working on what I thought would be the breakthrough of my career. I've been at Nexus for 4 years. Started as a junior developer right out of my master's program, worked my way up through late nights and proved results. I loved it. The challenge, the innovation, the feeling of building something that could actually change how people interact with technology. My project was called Aria. An AI model that could process natural language with unprecedented contextual understanding. Not just responding to commands but actually understanding nuance, emotion, and intent. I've been working on it for 2 years. Nights, weekends, every spare moment. Building the architecture, training the models, refining the algorithms. It was elegant, efficient, and completely mine. Fallon joined the team 18 months into development. She was senior to me technically. 5 years more experience, MBA from Stanford. Confident in that way that makes people automatically trust you. She'd been brought in to provide strategic oversight to our research division. We became friends almost immediately. Or at least I thought we did. She was interested in my work. Asked smart questions. Offered suggestions that actually helped. We'd grab lunch together, complain about management together, talk about our career goals. You're going places, Seren, she told me once over coffee. This Aria project is revolutionary. You're going to change the industry. I believed her. More than that, I trusted her. That was my first mistake. 6 months before launch, Fallon asked if she could review my codebase. Just to understand the architecture better. I want to be able to advocate for it with the C-suite. I gave her full access. Every file. Every algorithm. Every piece of research documentation. Why wouldn't I? She was my friend. My mentor. My ally. That was my second mistake. The board presentation was scheduled for April 15th. I'd been preparing for months. This was my moment. The culmination of 2 years of work. I'd rehearsed the demo until I could do it in my sleep. Perfected every slide. Anticipated every question. The night before, Fallon texted me. Good luck tomorrow. You're going to crush it. So proud of you. I went to bed excited. Nervous but excited. This was everything I'd been working toward. I arrived at the office at 7 a.m. to do a final run-through. The presentation was at 9. At 8:30, our CEO Jasper's assistant found me in the conference room. Change of plans. Fallon will be presenting Aria. Jasper thinks her seniority will carry more weight with the board. The words didn't make sense. What? Fallon's presenting. She's already in the boardroom setting up. Jasper wants you there to answer technical questions if needed, but she'll be leading. I felt the floor tilt. That's my project. My presentation. I've been preparing for months. I'm just delivering the message. Take it up with Jasper if you have concerns. I went to Jasper's office. He was on the phone, waved me away. By the time I got to the boardroom, Fallon was already 5 slides in. My slides, my words, my project. She presented it flawlessly, confidently, like she'd built every line of code herself. The board loved it. Asked questions she answered perfectly because she'd had access to all my documentation, all my research notes, everything. I sat in the back of the room, watching my career get hijacked in real time, unable to say a word without looking petty or territorial. After the meeting, the board members congratulated Fallon. Several of them shook her hand. One of them called her exactly the kind of innovative leader Nexus needs. She glowed under their praise. I left the room before I said something I'd regret. That afternoon, Jasper called me into his office. Great presentation this morning. Fallon really knocked it out of the park. That was my work, Jasper. My project. She presented research I developed. He leaned back in his chair, that patronizing expression executives perfect. Saren, Fallon is the strategic lead on the research division. Everything that comes out of that division is collaborative. You did excellent work, obviously, but I built that model. Every algorithm, every training sequence. That's 2 years of my life. And you'll get appropriate credit in the documentation. But leadership means understanding team dynamics. Fallon has the experience and gravitas to take this forward. You need to see the bigger picture. The bigger picture where I do the work and she gets the credit. That's not what I said. But it's what's happening. His expression hardened. I'm going to give you some advice. This attitude, this territorialism over your work, it's not going to serve you here. We're a team. We collaborate. If you can't handle that, maybe you need to reconsider whether Nexus is the right fit. I walked out of his office shaking. With rage. With disbelief. With the dawning understanding that I'd just watched my career get stolen and been told it was my fault for caring. That evening, Fallon found me at my desk. Hey, I know today was weird. I wanted to explain. Don't. Saren, come on. Jasper made the call. I tried to push back, but you're lying. I looked at her directly. You wanted this. You saw an opportunity and you took it. That's not fair. What's not fair is you presenting 2 years of my work as your own. She sighed like I was being difficult. This is exactly the attitude Jasper was talking about. You're brilliant, Saren, but you don't understand politics. Sometimes you have to let other people take the lead to get ahead yourself. Get ahead to where? Watching someone else get promoted on my work. It's not your work. It's the company's work. That's how this works. I went home that night and cried until I couldn't breathe. The promotion announcement came 2 weeks later. Fallon Mercier, promoted to Vice President of AI Innovation. Leading the ARIA project through development and launch. My name appeared in the announcement. Once. In a list of valuable team contributors. I scheduled a meeting with HR. Documented everything. The timeline of development. My original research notes. The fact that Fallon hadn't even been on the team when I started ARIA. The HR director, a woman named Patricia who'd worked at Nexus for 15 years, listened with a sympathetic expression. I understand your frustration, Saren. But from what I'm seeing, this was a collaborative project. You were the primary technical contributor, yes, but Fallon provided strategic direction. She joined 18 months into a 2-year project. She didn't provide strategic direction. She provided nothing. That's a strong accusation. Do you have evidence that Fallon misrepresented her involvement? The code is evidence. The commit history. The research documentation. It's all time-stamped with my name. Code that was developed as part of your employment here. Which makes it company property. I'm sorry, but I don't see grounds for a formal complaint. That's when I realized. They knew. They all knew. They just didn't care. Fallon was a senior, charismatic and good at managing up. She made the executives feel smart. I was a junior, direct and better at code than politics. I made the executives feel threatened. They'd made their choice. And I wasn't it. I went back to work. Tried to move forward. But Fallon was now my boss. She assigned me maintenance tasks, bug fixes, and minor features. Nothing innovative. Nothing that would let me prove myself again. When I objected, she pulled me into a meeting. "Saren, I need you to understand something. Your attitude since the board presentation has been really concerning. You're creating tension in the team. Spreading negativity about leadership decisions. I'm not spreading anything. I'm trying to do my job. You're undermining my authority. And I can't have that. So either you adjust your attitude, or we'll need to discuss whether this is the right role for you." I lasted 3 more months before they fired me. The official reason: creating a hostile work environment through persistent insubordination and negative attitude toward management. The real reason: I'd made Fallon uncomfortable by existing as a reminder that she'd built her career on stolen work. They escorted me out with my belongings in a box. 2 years of research gone. Career I'd built carefully destroyed. Fallon sent me a text that evening. "I'm sorry it came to this. I really did try to make it work. Good luck with whatever comes next." I blocked her number and cried in my car in the Nexus parking lot until security asked me to leave. I was unemployed for 7 months. Every job I interviewed for wanted references. Nexus was my only significant experience. And when companies called them, they heard about my attitude problems and difficulty with authority. No one wanted to hire the difficult woman who couldn't work with her team. I burned through my savings. Moved from my apartment to a friend's couch. Idris, actually. He'd been on my team at Nexus. Quit 2 months after I was fired. "They're using your model exactly as you built it," he told me one night over cheap takeout. "Fallon hasn't changed a single thing. She just slapped her name on it and called it innovation. Good for her. Saren, you can't just give up. What am I supposed to do?" She won. They won. That's how it works. So build something they can't steal. I looked at him. What? Build something better. You know what Aria was missing. You know where the model could improve. So improve it. Build version 2.0. Then get funding and launch it yourself. With what resources? I'm broke. I'm unemployed. I can't even get an interview. You have the knowledge. That's the one thing Fallon couldn't steal. She can present your work, but she doesn't understand it. Not really. You do. He pulled out his laptop. So let's rebuild it. Better. Faster. Smarter. And then let's destroy them. We started that night. Idris had savings. I had knowledge and fury. We had nothing to lose. We spent 6 months in his apartment building. I took everything I'd learned from Aria and pushed further. Better natural language processing. More efficient neural networks. Actual contextual learning instead of just pattern matching. Called it Lyra. After the constellation. Because stars are born from chaos. We needed funding. I had no connections, no track record of successful launches. Every investor I pitched said some version of, "This is interesting, but we already funded Nexus's Aria project. The market doesn't need 2 similar products." They didn't understand that Lyra wasn't similar. It was superior. But I couldn't prove that without resources to build it out fully. Then Idris had an idea. What if we pivot the pitch? Not B2B like Aria. Consumer-focused. Personal AI assistant. Something Aria can't do. We reworked everything. New use case. New market. New approach. I pitched it to 20 investors. 19 said no. The 20th was Nalani Chen, a former engineer turned angel investor who'd made her money founding 3 startups. She listened to my entire pitch without interrupting. Looked at my demo. Asked technical questions that proved she actually understood the architecture. "This is exceptional work," she said finally. "Really exceptional. Where did you develop this?" I told her the truth. All of it. Nexus. Fallon. A theft. The firing. She nodded slowly. I've heard of Aria. Nexus is making a lot of noise about it. But what you're showing me is substantially more advanced. Because I know what I built and where it can go. They're just maintaining what I gave them. How much do you need? 2 million for the first year. Product development, small team, initial marketing. She smiled. I'll give you 3. But I want 20% equity and a board seat. We shook hands. Signed the papers 2 weeks later. Lyra Technologies launched 6 months after that. Building a company is brutal. Especially when you're trying to compete with a well-funded competitor who stole your original work. But we had advantages Nexus didn't. We were faster. Leaner. We actually understood the technology we were building instead of just managing it. Lyra launched as a personal AI assistant. Not corporate software like Aria. Something people could use every day. Natural conversation. Genuine understanding. Privacy-focused. We got 10,000 users the first month. 100,000 by month 3. 1 million by month 6. Tech journalists started covering us. Lyra Technologies, the scrappy startup disrupting the AI assistant market. Nexus noticed. They tried to pivot Aria into the consumer space, but it was too late. Their model wasn't designed for it. They'd been so focused on corporate clients that they'd missed the consumer opportunity entirely. We got acquisition offers. I turned them all down. This wasn't about selling. It was about proving something. By year 2, Lyra had 4 million users. Revenue was climbing. We were profitable. Small but growing. Nexus's Aria project plateaued. Without me there to innovate, Fallon could only maintain what existed. And in tech, if you're not innovating, you're dying. Their valuation dropped. They laid off 30% of their staff. Including, I heard through the grapevine, Fallon. She'd ridden my work as far as it could take her. Then gravity caught up. I didn't feel victorious. Just tired. And maybe a little bit satisfied. Then her resume arrived. Fallon showed up to the interview in designer clothes and perfect makeup. The same confident smile I remembered. She didn't recognize me at first. I looked different. Short hair now instead of long. Glasses. 3 years of stress and success had changed my face. Then her eyes focused and I watched the color drain from her cheeks. Saren. Hi, Fallon. Thanks for coming in. She sat down slowly, processing. I could see her mind working, trying to figure out how to play this. I had no idea you were at Lyra. This is unexpected. I founded Lyra. I'm the CEO. Silence. Then. That's incredible. Congratulations. Thank you. You're looking for a director position. Yes. I saw you were expanding the AI development team and thought my experience would be a good fit. Your experience. Right. I opened her resume. It says here you led the Aria project at Nexus. Architected the core natural language model. She had the decency to look uncomfortable. I was the strategic lead, yes. Interesting. Because I remember it differently. Saren, I'm curious. In your assessment, how does Aria compare to Lyra's architecture? She blinked. They're both strong models. Different use cases. But technically, the neural network structure, the training methodology, how do they differ? I watched her struggle. She didn't know. She'd never known. She'd presented my work without understanding it, and now she couldn't explain the fundamentals. There. It's been a while since I worked hands-on with the code. Because you never worked hands-on with the code. You presented work you didn't build. Got promoted for innovation you didn't create. And when you couldn't maintain that innovation, Nexus let you go. That's not fair. I brought strategic vision. You brought nothing. Except the willingness to steal from someone who trusted you. She stood up. I don't have to listen to this. This is harassment. No. This is an interview. You applied here. I'm asking about your qualifications. I leaned forward. Here's what I'm curious about, Fallon. Did you know? When you saw Lyra was successful, did you recognize your own theft improved beyond recognition? She didn't answer. You're not getting this job. You know that, right? But I wanted to see you. I wanted to watch you realize that the work you stole was just the foundation. That I built something you could never touch. Something you didn't even recognize when you saw it. You're doing this for revenge. No. Revenge would be exposing you publicly. Ruining your career the way you ruined mine. I closed her resume. I'm just making sure you understand that you didn't win. You delayed me. But you didn't stop me. She left without another word. Idris found me in my office 20 minutes later. Feel better? Not really. Just feel tired. Want to tell her to apply for a junior developer position? Under my supervision. That would be poetic. I laughed despite myself. No. Let her go. She's not our problem anymore. That was 6 months ago. Lyra Technologies is now valued at $47 million. We have 83 employees. 7 million users. Partnerships with 3 major tech companies. Arya shut down last month. Nexus couldn't justify the development costs without growth. The technology one built 3 years ago is now obsolete. Fallon. I have no idea where she ended up. Don't check. I don't care. Because here's what I learned. The best revenge isn't destroying someone who hurt you. It's building something so successful that their betrayal becomes irrelevant. Fallon stole my work. She got promoted. She looked like she'd won. But she only had what I gave her. And when that ran out, she had nothing. I had the knowledge. The drive. The ability to build something from nothing. She couldn't steal that. No one can. Before I go, I want to say something to everyone who's had their work stolen, their ideas taken, their credit given to someone else. Feels like the end. Like you've lost everything. Like the thief won. They didn't. They just delayed you. Because theft only works once. They can steal what you made. They can't steal your ability to make more. So make more. Build better. Go further. And let their theft become the footnote in your success story instead of the end of it. Fallon thought she was destroying my career. She actually did me a favor. She showed me I didn't need Nexus. I didn't need their validation or their platform. I just needed to believe I could build something they couldn't touch. And I did. If someone has stolen your work or taken credit for your ideas, drop a comment. You're not alone. And you're not done. Subscribe for more stories about people who turned career destruction into career-defining success. Remember, they can steal what you made. They can't steal what you can make next.